Dear students, hello and welcome to the session on Introduction to Motivation and Abraham Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs. Rabindranath Tagore once said, "You can't cross the sea merely by standing and staring at the water." This quote signifies the power of motivation in a very simple way. Motivation simply means something within an individual that prompts him to action. Motives or needs are the whys of behavior. They start and maintain activity and determine the general direction of the person. Motives give direction to human behavior, and this behavior ultimately leads to goal-directed activities. In short, it is a theoretical construct used to explain behavior. It represents the reasons for people's actions, desires, and needs. Motivation can also be defined as one's direction to behavior or what causes a person to want to repeat a behavior and vice versa. A motive is what prompts the person to act in a certain way or at least develop an inclination for specific behavior. The word motivation comes from the Latin word movere, which means to move. What motivates humans and animals has been a popular research topic in psychology for centuries. Also, well-motivated individuals are central to high organizational performance. Motivation is also interesting because motives differ as we go along and motives change with time. Let me share with you a story from the book Count Your Chickens Before They Hatch by Arindam Chowdhury. Have you ever wondered how a 2-year-old kid on his birthday party has his eyes fixed on the birthday cake and given the first opportunity jumps on the cake and smudges it all over his face? The same boy at the age of 8 takes a big piece of cake and goes slyly to one corner of the house and eats it up. If by chance his sister comes asking for a bite, he spits on the piece of cake and says it has become dirty and she cannot have it. At the age of 15 though, he carefully cuts out a big piece and goes towards his sister, but does not give it to her. He gives it to her best friend standing next to her. Needless to mention that this friend is a girl. At another age, as the president of a large corporation, now a big man, he spends time ordering a big 5-storied cake. He cuts the cake but seems hardly interested in eating it or giving it to his secretary standing next to him. As an old man, he does not even remember his birthday. His children and grandchildren remember, celebrate, cut a cake and give him the biggest piece. He, however, spots a little girl in the party and gives the piece to her, sees her spoil her clothes while trying to eat the cake, and he enjoys the scene. The same cake, different motives. Motivation is all about finding out the need inside a person, which, if satisfied, will make him exert high levels of efforts. Motivation can be divided into two: intrinsic or internal motivation and extrinsic or external motivation. Intrinsic motivation is the self-desire to seek out new things and new challenges, to analyze one's capacity, to observe and to gain knowledge. It is driven by an interest or enjoyment in the task itself and exists within the individual rather than relying on external pressures or a desire for reward. Extrinsic motivation refers to the performance of an activity in order to attain a desired outcome, and it is the opposite of intrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation comes from influences outside of the individual. Let us take a look at the definition of motivation. Motivation is defined as the processes that account for an individual's intensity, direction, and persistence of effort towards attaining a goal. Robbins and Judge, 2011. One of the most influential writers in the area of motivation was Abraham Maslow, who attempted to synthesize a large body of research related to human motivation. Abraham Harold Maslow, April 1, 1908 to June 8, 1970, was an American psychologist who was best known for creating Maslow's hierarchy of needs, a theory of psychological health predicated on fulfilling innate human needs in priority, culminating in self-actualization. Prior to Maslow, researchers generally focused separately on such factors as biology, achievement, or power to explain what energizes, directs, and sustains human behavior. Maslow posited a hierarchy of human needs based on two groupings: deficiency needs and growth needs. This five-stage model can be divided into basic or deficiency needs, example, physiological, safety, love, and esteem, and growth needs like self-actualization. The deficiency or basic needs are said to motivate people when they are unmet. Also, the need to fulfill such needs will become stronger the longer the duration they are denied. For example, the longer a person goes without food, the more hungry they become. One must satisfy lower level basic needs before progressing on to meet higher level growth needs. Once these needs have been reasonably satisfied, one may be able to reach the highest level called self-actualization. Maslow posited that human needs are arranged in a hierarchy: physiological, which includes hunger, thirst, shelter, sex, and other bodily needs; safety includes security and protection from physical and emotional harm; social includes affection, belongingness, acceptance, and friendship; esteem includes internal esteem factors such as self-respect, autonomy, and achievement, and external esteem factors such as status, recognition, and attention. Lastly, self-actualization, which is the drive to become what one is capable of becoming, includes growth, achieving one's potential, and self-fulfillment. What is interesting is that it was Kurt Goldstein who had originated the idea of self-actualization in his famous book, The Organism, in the year 1934. Let me conclude with a story which explains needs of a person. On the threshold of his passage to India, Alexander the Great encountered a strange man. This man, dressed in a loin cloth, would meditate for hours in a secluded place near Alexander's camp. For several days, Alexander saw the sage seated in a lotus position while looking towards the horizon. One day, the great warrior, unable to contain his curiosity, approached the sage and asked, "Don't you have anything to do besides sitting and dreaming? Tell me, what is your goal in life?" The sage smiled a little and said, "Great warrior, you must first tell me about your goal in life before I tell mine." Alexander was outraged and said, "Don't you know I am Alexander? I am out to conquer the world." The sage asked, "What do you want to do after you have conquered the world?" Alexander said, "Then I will sit on my throne and relax." The sage replied, "That is precisely what I am doing now." Some people need more to be happy. Some people need less to be happy. Dear students, hope you got some insight on the topic of motivation.